Welcome back, fight fans. Saul Canelo Alvarez, the undisputed king of the super middleweight division, has sent shockwaves through the boxing world by naming his price for a showdown with David Benavidez, the man many believe could be his toughest opponent yet. This fantasy fight remains one of the hottest topics in boxing, and Canelo's staggering financial demands, upwards of $200 million, only added fuel to the fire. But is this fight really about money, or is there something more to Canelo's reluctance to face the so-called Mexican monster? The cause for Canelo to fight Benavidez reached a fever pitch after Alvarez's recent unanimous decision win over Edgar Berlanga in September 2024. Critics were quick to accuse Canelo of taking an easier fight instead of facing Benavidez, whose growing reputation as a ferocious puncher and relentless pressure fighter has made him the people's choice. While Alvarez insists he's open to the fight, he's also made it clear that the payday needs to justify the risk. In a previous press conference, Alvarez bluntly stated that it would take between $150 million and $250 million to get him in the ring with Benavidez. Later, he doubled down, telling reporters at a charity event that the fight's financial stakes would have to be astronomical for him to even consider it. "All I see is that Benavidez weighs 25 or 30 pounds more than I do on the day of the fight," Alvarez explained. "I have no problem with that, but if you want me to fight him, it's $200 million. Canelo's comments have reignited a debate about weight in boxing and whether Benavidez's size gives him an unfair advantage. The 28-year-old Benavidez has fought most of his career at 168 pounds, but often rehydrates to well over 180 pounds by fight night. This has led some, including former opponents, to question whether his physicality is simply too much for anyone in the super middleweight division to handle. One such critic is Demetrius "Boo Boo" Andrade, who suffered a brutal 6th-round knockout at the hands of Benavidez in November 2023. Andrade, a former world champion in multiple weight classes, pointed out that Benavidez's size played a major role in their fight. "Because he was a big, strong guy, he was able to take it," Andrade told Fight Hub TV. This weight discrepancy has become one of Canelo's primary reasons for hesitation. Critics argue, however, that Alvarez has faced bigger opponents before. In 2022, he stepped up to light heavyweight to fight Dimitri Bivol, suffering a decisive loss. But Alvarez's supporters point out that Benavidez is a different beast altogether. Faster, more aggressive, and with a relentless style that could push even a seasoned champion like Canelo to his limits. In February, Benavidez took another step towards solidifying his legacy by moving up to light heavyweight to face David Morrell in Las Vegas. The fight was seen as a litmus test for Benavidez's ability to compete at higher weights, and while he emerged victorious, some questioned whether he looked as dominant as he does at 168 pounds. Still, his performance left no doubt that he remains a formidable opponent for anyone in the sport. David Benavidez's career trajectory has been nothing short of meteoric. With his recent win over top contender David Morrell and boasting an undefeated record of 30-0, Benavidez has built a reputation as one of the most dangerous fighters in boxing today. His combination of power, speed, and relentless pressure has made him a nightmare for anyone in the ring. But is Benavidez ready to take on someone as experienced and skilled as Alvarez? Or should he just focus on challenging the winner of the rematch between Beterbiev versus Bivol? For Canelo Alvarez, the question of fighting Benavidez is as much about legacy as it is about money. At 34 years old, Alvarez has nothing left to prove. He's a 4-division world champion with an impressive record of 62, 2-2. And he's faced some of the best fighters of his generation, from Gennady Golovkin to Sergey Kovalev. Yet, the shadow of Benavidez looms large, and many believe that avoiding this fight could tarnish his legacy. The two fighters represent a clash of styles that would make for a fascinating matchup. Benavidez's relentless aggression and volume punching could pose problems for Canelo, who has built his career on counterpunching and impeccable defense. However, Alvarez has faced similar challenges before. He's gone toe-to-toe with power punches like Golovkin, outboxed taller opponents like Callum Smith, and neutralized speedsters like Amir Khan. Would Benavidez bring anything new to the table, or would he simply be another name on Canelo's already stacked resume? Benavidez possesses the tools to succeed where others have failed. His size, reach, and work rate make him a unique threat, and his ability to throw punches in clusters could overwhelm even a seasoned fighter like Canelo. Benavidez also has the advantage of youth. At 28, he's entering his physical prime, while Alvarez is likely on the tail end of his. Moreover, Benavidez's relentless pressure could test Canelo's stamina, which has occasionally been a weak point in grueling fights. If Benavidez can weather the early storm and drag the fight into later rounds, he could capitalize on Alvarez's fatigue and turn the tide in his favor. Canelo Alvarez, on the other hand, has experience and versatility that would give him the edge in a fight against Benavidez. Alvarez has faced virtually every style imaginable. From the brute strength of Golovkin to the slick boxing of Floyd Mayweather Jr., he also demonstrated an uncanny ability to adapt mid-fight, adjusting his strategy to exploit his opponent's weaknesses. One key factor in Alvarez's favor is his counterpunching. Benavidez's aggressive style often leaves them open to counters, and Alvarez is one of the best in the business at exploiting such openings. Canelo's early counters could disrupt Benavidez's rhythm and make him hesitant to engage, potentially paving the way for Alvarez to control the fight. From a fan's perspective, the Canelo vs. Benavidez fight is more than just another matchup. It's the kind of blockbuster event that boxing needs. In an era where superfights are often delayed or failed to materialize, this showdown represents a rare opportunity to see two elite fighters at the peak of their powers. For many, it's not just about who wins or loses. It's about the spectacle, the drama, and the chance to witness history in the making. However, the fight's financial and logistical hurdles remain significant, with Canelo demanding a 9-figure payday and Benavidez continuing to build his resume. It's unclear whether the stars will align for this dream fight to happen. But one thing is certain, the demand is there, and fans will continue to push for this matchup until it becomes a reality. When Canelo Alvarez stepped up to challenge Sergey Kovalev for the WBO light heavyweight title in 2019, it was hailed as a daring leap into the unknown. Just 6 months after defending his middleweight belts against Daniel Jacobs, Alvarez moved up 2 weight classes, adding 15 pounds to face a man who had built a legacy as one of the most accomplished light heavyweights of his era. Kovalev, with 16 title fights under his belt and 10 knockouts in those bouts, presented a formidable challenge, on paper at least. But there was a caveat. Kovalev's career had begun to show cracks, with 3 losses in his previous 7 title fights. The fight itself was an intriguing chess match. Kovalev leaned heavily on his jab, employing a defensive style to keep Alvarez at bay, while Canelo focused on his bread and butter, devastating body shots and head-snapping power punches. The scorecards were razor-thin, heading into the championship rounds, with 2 judges favoring Canelo by 2 points, while the third had it dead even. But Canelo, as he so often does, removed any room for doubt. In the 11th round, Alvarez unleashed a vicious combination. A left hook to Kovalev's temple left him dazed and sagging against the ropes, followed by a thunderous right hand that sent him crumpling to the canvas. The referee didn't bother with the count. It was over. "We knew it was coming," Alvarez said after the fight. And with that, Canelo added yet another belt to his collection, cementing his status as one of boxing's all-time greats. Now, fast forward to the ongoing debate about Canelo facing David Benavidez, and the contrast between these two opponents couldn't be starker. Kovalev, though a legend in his own right, was a 36-year-old fighter who many believed was past his prime. His style relied on technique and discipline, but he lacked the physicality and aggression to truly trouble Alvarez. In contrast, Benavidez represents a much more dangerous proposition. A young, hungry, undefeated fighter in his prime who brings relentless pressure, explosive combinations, and a willingness to stand and trade. One of the key differences between Kovalev and Benavidez lies in the circumstances surrounding the fights. When Alvarez faced Kovalev, he was the smaller man moving up in weight, but he was also taking on a veteran fighter whose best days were arguably behind him. Kovalev had already been stopped by Andre Ward and a later Alvarez, and while he rebounded with a win over Anthony Yarde just months before facing Canelo, it was clear that his reflexes and durability weren't what they used to be. With Benavidez, there's no such luxury. At 28 years old, Benavidez is in his physical prime and has never tasted defeat. Unlike Kovalev, who reigned on a single weapon, his jab, to keep Canelo at bay, Benavidez brings a multifaceted offensive arsenal. His high punch output, relentless pace, and ability to mix up his attacks make him a nightmare for any opponent. And while Kovalev's chin had been tested and cracked before, Benavidez has shown an ability to absorb punishment and keep moving forward. Another stark difference is their fighting styles. Kovalev's jab was his signature weapon, a tool that allowed him to control distance and dictate the pace of fights. Against Canelo, it worked well enough to keep the fight competitive through 10 rounds, but it wasn't enough to deter Alvarez from eventually closing the gap and landing the fight-ending shots. Benavidez, however, doesn't rely on a jab to control fights. Instead, he overwhelms opponents with sheer volume and aggression. Where Kovalev was content to fight at a measured pace, Benavidez thrives in chaos, forcing his opponents to fight at a tempo that few can match. This relentless style possesses a unique challenge for Canelo, who would need to navigate not just Benavidez's size and power, but also his ability to maintain pressure from the opening bell to the final round. If the fight does happen, it has the potential to be one of the most compelling matchups in recent memory. The clash of styles, the stakes, and the narrative surrounding both fighters would make for an unforgettable event. Canelo would likely look to establish his dominance early, using his experience in counterpunching to keep Benavidez at bay. Meanwhile, Benavidez would aim to overwhelm Alvarez with his relentless pressure and high-volume punching. The outcome could hinge on several factors, including Canelo's ability to handle Benavidez's size and power, Benavidez's ability to adapt to Alvarez's counterpunching, and the conditioning of both fighters in the later rounds. Regardless of who emerges victorious, the fight would undoubtedly leave a lasting impact on the sport. As it stands, the Canelo vs. Benavidez fight remains a tantalizing what-if. Both fighters have expressed interest, but the financial and logistical challenges continue to loom large. For now, fans can only speculate about what might happen if these two warriors finally meet in the ring. What's your take on this potential matchup? Would Benavidez's size and aggression be too much for Canelo, or would Alvarez's experience and skill prove decisive? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Until next time, fight fans.